Don't mess with me. I'm one crazy mofo. I had to pop a cop because he wasn't giving me my props in Oaktown.
Okay. All right. Here come the hype. Don't give me no problem. Just give me the light. These niggas, they ain't ready. They ain't real. They been a pipe. The game dead is in the bed. I'm bringing the light. What can I say? I've been this way. I was for life. They niggas weak. Ain't this slow. The shit on light. I'm running up. It ain't enough. I'm turning it up. Don't know what they think. Must be thinking too much. Look, don't care what you do. Don't care what you try. Don't know what you take. You not on my level. Nigga, I was born to rap. Yeah, nigga, I'm on Google. Got that mojo, Austin Powers. We do not fuck with them niggas. We don't know no cowards. Go make stepping. I go and shit. It ain't gon' cease. When I take your spot, I hold the spot. Ain't no lease. Monopoly with that property. I'm gonna go my people, nigga. The way pick up the pieces. I make this shit look easy. You screaming out for Jesus. That man don't fight like Jesus. You touch my bro, you taste. You see how quick it be. I told you I'm on Gomo. Bitch, be ready. Oh, I'm leaving. These rappers just my man and me. I swear I'm not the evil. Go. All right. Tell him good night. Tell him it's so. I ain't never nut. I already told. I'm boys for life. So don't run for me, nigga. Don't come for me, nigga. Been doing my man from down to my legs. I need a bag. And I need it bag. So I'm back in my bag. They need the pressure. I got it made. I'm gonna introduce you to that mojo flow. That alkaline. Don't care what you do. Don't care if you try. Don't know the time. You're not home alone. Nigga, I was born to rap. Nigga, I'm on Gomo. Got that mojo, Austin Powers. We do not fuck with them niggas. We don't know no cowards. You don't understand. I'm the man. Doing the middle. You're young and you're done. Tell them good night. They should be killed. I'm in a point. I'm in a truck. And it's a riddle. Nah, I can't talk. I gotta go. Cause I'm in the general. Drop this shit, they go nuts. This mojo just for grown-ups. Went live with my baby. She said, boo, I love you so much. I said, I love you too. But I gotta go. Get it sewn up. I gotta get this paper. Cause my baby needs the rubber. All right. Bitch, the hype. Show me his heart. Now give me the nut. Look at me shake. I shook like that. Now I already told. I ain't for nuts. Don't care what you do. Don't care if you try. I don't know what it takes. You're not home alone. Nigga, I was born to rap.
You get that cool.
I'm on, got that mojo, Austin Powers. We do not fuck with them niggas. We don't know no cowards.
All right, let's clap it up for that. Shalom, Yashala. We are the Isu Pk. Started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. Today is the Isu Pk San Antonio Brotherhood class. Today, the title of this class is Brotherhood Builds the Kingdom. Now, of course, brotherhood is something that we, in the world, we look for those things. We look for ways to communicate and get along with each other, to get along with people, to try to find some kind of camaraderie. But in the truth, it's that much more important. It's a vital part of what builds our kingdom. It's a very important thing that we have. And if we don't have that, it leads to our destruction. It leads to us being selfish and not wanting to take care of each other. And so it's a very important aspect of our lives that we need to nurture, especially when coming into this truth. And thankfully, under the Isu Pk, under Command General Yohana, we are given the tools necessary to teach and take care of ourselves and discipline ourselves to hold fast to that brotherhood that the brothers that started this school really took into place a long time ago when this school was first being made. Is what makes our school powerful. It's what makes us victorious over every battle that we face. We are undefeated because of brotherhood. We are building the kingdom because we have brotherhood. It is one of the most vital parts to being in this truth. So we're going to get into these scriptures, and we're going to start bringing out scriptures about brotherhood. This is, again, the ISUPK, and I'm ready to get started on that. So the first precept that we're going to go ahead and pull up is going to be 1 John chapter 4 and verse 20. 1 John chapter 4 and verse 20. Everybody likes to say that they feel a certain way towards religion. Everybody has a connection with religion. But where are we showing it in our acts? Where are we proving it with the ways that we operate ourselves in our day-to-day lives? Are we really about the Most High and these precepts and being a good person? Or do we just say these things because it sounds good and feels good for a time, when in fact we really aren't? We really are more towards the side of being selfish. Which side are we? And if we are making mistakes, how can we improve upon those things and continue to build on that good aspect of ourselves through brotherhood? Well, the precepts are going to say it. We're going to let the Bible speak. So, you had that precept for me, sir?
Con.
Go ahead.
This is 1 John chapter 4, verse 20. If a man say, I love God, and hateth his brother, he is a liar.
That's right. If a man says that he loves God and hates his brother, he is a liar. And it's a very important thing to not be a liar. We know that that is a commandment not to lie. So we have to take this into heart, that if we're holding on to these precepts, that we are not going to say that we love the Most High and at the same time hate one of our own people. Hate one of our own people. It could be something as simple as for the way that somebody talks, for the kind of music that they listen to. Maybe you don't exactly relate to them the same way that you may relate to other people. However, this is still your brother. There is no reason for you to show hatred to them. And you'd be lying to yourself if you say that you love them, but in fact, you show no actual brotherly affection and unity towards this person. Those are things that we need to correct. Go ahead, sir.
For he that loveth not his brother, whom he hath seen.
Right. Read that again.
For he that loveth not his brother, whom he hath seen.
We see our people every single day. We see the same people every single day. We're in the same positions as each other. Being in poverty, having to go to the same slaveries, having to deal with the same afflictions, seeing our people being hopped up on all kinds of manners of wickedness that are trying to influence us to do the wrong things. Read that one more time from the top, if you could.
Con. This is 1 John chapter 4, verse 20. If a man say, I love God, and hated his brother, he is a liar.
Go ahead.
For he that loveth not his brother, whom he hath seen.
Read on.
How can he love God, whom he hath not seen?
And that's very heavy to bring out right there, because we're talking about faith now. If we're supposed to prove that we have faith in the Most High, how can we even begin that process if we can't even show love to somebody that we see every single day? How can we even begin to actually prove to the Most High our love for him when we can't even love ourselves within our own community, within Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans? You know, when growing up with here, especially in San Antonio, we've seen a lot of animosity between Blacks and Hispanics. You know, I recall going to school and seeing, you know, people mean mugging each other in the hallways, race wars starting off at pep rallies in high school, bomb threats being called in at the school, making everybody go outside, and fights breaking out between Blacks and Hispanics. How can we even begin to build our kingdom if we are not able to love the people that we see on a day-to-day basis, to work with them, to build with them, to have a camaraderie with them? These are things that are very important for us to keep in mind, because again, don't be lying to yourself about it. Be about this truth and be about your people. Read that one more time, Salakia.
This is Con.
From the second half of the precept, Salakia.
Con. For he that loveth not his brother, whom he hath seen, how can he love God, whom he hath not seen?
That's right. How can you even begin to love the Most High if you have not seen them? How can you even begin the Most High? How can you love the Most High if you can't see what he does for you every single day? And the fact that we are here together in this captivity together, That is a chance for us to prove to the Most High that we can work together to build something much more than what they've said that we can be, much more than what they try to say that we are in the schools. Go ahead.
So like you said, if I may, that's just like the Christian pastors that tell them, oh, I love God and God loves me, and but then he's steady robbing his people that's in the church.
That's right.
Pulling up in a nice car with the nice houses and sending his kids to college. Meanwhile, the people in the church got to catch the bus to church.
Man,
they got to catch the bus to church. He feeding them pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster after church, not telling them about the dietary laws.
Right.
Not trying to keep order in the church. He's telling the woman that she could leave her man. Right there, he's not loving he's not showing love to the brothers and sisters that's in his church.
That's right, man, and that's real heavy because you even see, even amongst people that try to call themselves and profess themselves as Israelites, that they do the exact same thing that pastors do in the Christian church. Now, in the ISUPK, there will be none of that. There's never been anything like that. But you see about greed and lust from the Christian church to fake Israelite groups out there where people that are on the top, people that are in the higher rank, that are supposed to be serving and protecting and taking care of the people under them, and take advantage of them, and even to the point where they're living dang near what you would call lavishly, comfortable, while the rest of the people in the congregation, in the church, in their school, in their whatever you want to call it, in their congregation, are dealing with, health issues without any help, poverty issues without any help. When is this going to come to an end? It's going to come to an end when we keep our head in this book and we continue to beat these scriptures into our mind and mold it into our minds to where it becomes our mind. And it's going to allow us to find the strength to stay brotherly and to love each other the way the scripture says, not the way that we feel, because the way that we feel is vain. But if we follow in the scriptures, we're going to continue to find righteousness more and more until we perfect ourselves.
That's right.
Khan. Verse 21. Go ahead and read verse 21 now.
Khan. This is 1 John chapter 4, verse 21. And this commandment have we from him, that he who loveth God love his brother also.
That's right. And this follows right up with what we read in verse 20. How do we love our brother? We love him the way that we would love the Most High. If we love God, we're going to take care of what our brother's needs are. If our brother doesn't have enough food to eat, whether he's perfect or not, whether he's going to take advantage of us or not, we have to continue to show love and provide for them whenever we can. You know what I'm saying? When I see people on the streets in poverty, homeless, the only thing I could think of in the back of my mind is what can I do for that person? If I could give them just enough motivation to make it through another day, if I could give them just enough bread to survive another day, maybe perhaps they'll find the strength to look and show brotherly love to somebody else, and it could spread across all of Israel if we keep that mindset. If everybody showed love if everybody had brotherhood the way that we see in the ISUPK, we would already be in the kingdom. We would already be on top of this planet, ruling the planet in righteousness, ruling the planet in unity, and having that strength to continue to rehearse the righteous acts. And not only that, we would have Christ here, because Christ would solidify that brotherhood in us. And we have to earn that spot. And how do we earn it? The way that you say that you love the Most High, the way that you would do anything and sacrifice whatever things that you would need to truly prove to the Most High that you care about him and want to follow him. We need to do the same thing for our brothers. We need to do the same thing for our sisters.
That's right.
When we see a sister out there acting a fool, always wanting to get high on weed, to always be on drugs, it would be a brotherly thing to say, you know what? Instead of me getting that for you, instead of me going and hooking you up with the ounce or with the eighth, instead of me getting you a pack with some pills, I'm gonna give you some scriptures to follow. I'm gonna actually show you a different way to live your life.
Right.
That's what real brotherhood is. That's what the real love of the Most High is, because that's what allows us to stay alive in this kingdom. So, I think I hit that. I'm over here like this. One more time, verse 21, just to read that one more time.
I don't want to come. 1 John chapter 4, verse 21.
Go ahead.
And this commandment have we from him, that he who loveth God love his brother also.
And this is a commandment. This is something that you could write if the Most High was keeping track over your righteous acts and your wicked acts, you would check this off. This is a commandment. You're following the Most High's order when you do this. So you should take real close honor in doing these things, no matter what, showing brotherhood no matter what. And that's something that's going to build our kingdom. And we can't wait to see it because we've already started that process. And it's up to you to join us in that process. When are you going to take the fold and come into this truth and to become without blemish and to stand up and take care of one another the real way, the way the Most High says to do so? When are you going to take the charge that the Most High says to love one another the way that the Christ loved the church, to actually want to keep that commandment, and not just that commandment, but more to come, more of the laws, more of the love, more of the things that are going to make us strong in these times. Okay, we could drop that. Let's go ahead and move forward. We're going to move to Matthew chapter 25 and verse 40. Matthew chapter 25 and verse 40. And the thing about that is that Christ is going to judge us based off how much brotherhood we have. He's going to come in the day of judgment. He's going to look at our acts. He's going to see, okay, did you really care about other people, or were you selfish? I feel like most of the issues in Israel, most of the issues in our relationships come from us being selfish at one point in time. Whether it's selfish because maybe I feel like I don't have enough money to stretch for the end of the week, so I can't take care of this, that, or whatever when something comes up with you, whenever you got going on. Maybe I'm being selfish because I'm spending too much time on my own, want to do my own thing. Maybe I like to have my own me time and watch, it could be YouTube or Netflix or Hulu, and you just want to block everything out and just focus on that. Meanwhile, somebody could be going through something real, real serious that you may not know about because you're too busy thinking about yourself and about the things that and the program that you got going on, rather than looking at somebody else. That's damn right. Salakia Adawan, that's absolutely true. That selfishness is a heathen trait. Brotherhood is a holy trait, a separate trait. It's a part of our heritage and a part of our identity. It should be embedded in our minds to want to take care of other people. And besides, when we do that, when we care about other people's issues and the things that they got going on, things tend to go a lot easier for us, right? Things tend to actually start to clear up in our own lives, in our own situations. When you start taking care of somebody else's issues, for some reason, our problems tend to go away. Brotherhood is a weapon. It's a spiritual weapon, because before we realize it, we're doing things to take care of each other, and it's clearing out issues that would be arising in our own lives. So just keep that in mind. The Most High has a complete understanding of what you're going through as well. But when you focus on the next man, your issues start to get cleared up. You got that? Right. You got that, sir? We in Matthew. Go ahead.
Matthew chapter 25, verse 40. And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily, I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren.
That's right. Go ahead.
Ye have done it unto me.
Now we're going to start from the top. And the who says this?
And the king.
And who is the king? Who is the king that it's talking about right here? Go ahead.
We're talking about Yahushua Mashiach.
That's the king right there. We got to follow our king. What our king's orders are, we better be following these orders. If we're not following these orders, then what are we doing? Why are we even calling ourselves Israelites if we're not following our king? If we're not following our commander, our general above all of our nation? If we're making him proud, then we're following what he says right here. Verily I say unto you. And what does he say after that? Go ahead.
I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren.
That's right. Whoa, hold on. Let's back up here, because you said one of the least of my brethren. One of the least of my brethren. We look at brothers and we like to put them in tiers. Even when you're growing up, you always have your friends that you had, you know what I mean? You could go back, if you want to be old school, back in the day, we had, when the internet first started taking off, we had MySpace, right? MySpace, where you had a top 8. You would pick 8 of your friends. They were at the top of your list. They were at the top. Those are the friends that you want to display to the whole world. These are the people I care about. I got all these friends on here, but these are the ones that I want to let you know, hey, these are my road dogs. This is my brother, my sister, my best friend, my girlfriend, this my parents. That, you know what I mean? That's what the Most High said right beside here. Christ, our King, says right here. He's saying the least of my brethren. What about the person that's all the way at the bottom of your friends list?
Right.
What about the person that's not even on your friends list?
That's right.
What about the person that was talking crap about you at school or whatever it was on the street? It could have been anywhere on social media, or back then we didn't even have that. It was just whoever was beefing with you at the lunch yard that you was getting ready to get into a fight with. What about them? What if you extended brotherhood to that person and defeated the demon that was in them to want to go against you by showing brotherhood, by showing sisterhood for you sisters out there that like to scrap with other sisters? I remember one of my best friends in high school, she used to be in a fight every other week. She was fighting some other chick for some random reasons. What if she was able to turn that around and actually become friends with that person instead? We would have the ability to do these things if we read these scriptures. If we found out what our identity was as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, being the 12 lost tribes of the nation of Israel. We would look past our differences and these petty issues that we come across, and we would say, you know what? The bigger picture is more important. We should look past those things. We should start to unify with each other. We should get along with one each other because we're dealing with the same hell here. The same, wrong influences trying to take us down and hold us down. We could be so much more if we follow our King and take care of each other, whether it be the least of us, the less popular, the most unwise, the one that you would say, you know what, they didn't really stand a chance out here in this world. Focus on them the way you would focus on your best friend. Focus on them the way that you would take care of your parents if something happened in their life. You shouldn't treat anybody different from one another. There should be no respect of persons in that respect. Read that one more time, sir. Salaki. Just to real hit home on what Christ is saying right here, because it's a very powerful thing to keep that in mind. It makes you humble when you read that you need to be doing this for everybody, not just picking and choosing who you want to be friends with.
Coming out of one con. This is Matthew chapter 25, verse 40. And the king shall answer and say unto them, verily, I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren,
that's right,
ye have done it unto me.
So accept that challenge. Go for the person that you least wanted to take care of, because when you do that, you're doing that for Christ. You're doing Christ a favor. How powerful is that? If you can actually see somebody homeless on the street, right, and give them your last dollar, you're doing that, and Christ is going to remember that. Christ is going to honor that. Come on. So again, taking care of your people is like as if you're doing the same thing for Christ. Likewise, when you're doing the wrong things, when you're looking down on someone, when you're making fun of somebody because you calling somebody that you work with a bum, you know what I mean? That you're building with, you calling them a bum because you see that they may not be in the same position as you or have the same abilities as you, and you want to look down upon them. You're looking down on Christ when you do that, and that's not brotherhood. And I understand those are thoughts that we face every single day. But in the Isu Pk, you are going to learn how to defeat those thoughts, how to overcome those flaws, and continue to be perfected by taking care of nobody, no matter who they are. And that's the beautiful thing that I see in the Isu Pk, is that all these people from all walks of life are coming together and doing something beautiful, doing something powerful, something that's never been done before. Not in ages and generations. We're doing this We've been built since 1969. We've been taking people from the hood, from the colleges, bringing them together, making them get along with each other. You know how that's like a miracle to see that.
That's right.
It's a miracle to see that, because in the world, you would have never reached out to somebody that was in a whole different walk of life from you. You'd have walked around, you'd have walked down the street and mean mugged them, or you just not even looked in their direction because of the shame that you carry, because you feel like if you even made eye contact with them, it'd be awkward. What Christ is saying right here is make that contact with that person and don't do wrong to them, because if you do, it's like as if you're doing that to him. And you can pass the test by actually taking care of that person. Asking that brother, hey, man, what's going on with you, man? No, for real, tell me, what you really going through, man? I know we all going through things right now. Connect with people, man. Be real about this stuff, because it's real out here. Things are only going to get worse. You should be opening up to somebody. You should be reaching out to folks all around you, especially in this truth. Somebody might be going through something and they don't even bother trying to bring it up because they're so humble. But because you're right there to kind of work with them and bring things out of them and build with them, that right there is what builds this kingdom. If we do this and we stay consistent with taking care of each other. Again, brotherhood builds the kingdom. You see it right here, right here. That's the title of the class. Take that in the heart and follow the orders of your king. The next precept that we're going to go to is also in the book of Matthew. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 22 will be the next precept. And that's another thing too, because we're always going to have friction. Things are going to come up that are going to cause us to want to, it's going to cause our minds to be in a struggle, because something may happen between a brother and a sister, or two brothers or two sisters, that we may be at odds with each other. You know what I mean? Being in hell is just something that's going to happen more naturally, because, you know, in the conditions that we're in, things are harder. It's harder for us to make it to the next week. It's harder for us to find the next meal, because we want to think about ourselves and our own families and our immediate families. So a lot of times whenever somebody interrupts that or disrupts our flow for taking care of what we need to get, causes friction. It causes us to look at one another in dismay and not prefer one another. And that's something that we definitely want to avoid. And thankfully, the Most High gave us this book so that we can learn from them and to give us hope to continue to push forward unto righteousness. Read what you got, sir.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 22.
Go ahead.
But I say unto you, that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause.
With what?
Without a cause.
Okay, read that one more time.
But I say unto you, that whosoever angry with his brother.
Read on.
Without a cause.
Go ahead.
Shall be in danger of the judgment.
And that right there is a very important fact that we need to bring out. We need to address this before it causes us to lead to our destruction. How often is it that we look at somebody and hate on them without even knowing them? It says that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of judgment. You know what judgment is? Judgment is a punishment. Judgment is a sentence. You don't want to be sentenced by the Most High for something, just even a thought in your mind that causes you to act a certain way towards your own people. You want to avoid these things because, again, judgment is something that is permanent. Judgment is something that can affect you forever. We on the straight and narrow path that we're following, we need to make sure not to lean one way or go the other way and actually do something to hurt your own brother or sister. Especially if there's no real reason behind it. Especially if we don't really have, like, you know what happens with us? We get real petty about certain things. We get real petty about things that happen to us where somebody may offend us. So, I mean, it's not a real cause, but it's something that can cause us to want to dislike somebody that does this work with us. You know what I'm saying? And the people in the world, somebody might say something to make you say, you know what? I really don't even want to talk to that person. I don't even want to give the effort towards that person. Meanwhile, if you're that kind of person, you're in more danger of being destroyed. Because it's supposed to be you that's the bigger man or the bigger woman in the sense of spirit, having a stronger spirit and forgiving that person anyways. Because who are you to hold a grudge against somebody? When the Most High has every reason to hold a grudge against us for all the crimes that we committed against him. So when it comes to not being judged, if we want to try to avoid that, we need to make sure that we're not being angry with somebody for a petty reason. Read that one more time. Salakia, sir. Go ahead.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 22. But I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment.
Danger of the judgment. Read on.
And whosoever shall say to his brother, Raka, shall be in danger of the council.
And that's something that you want to avoid as well. You know what happens in council in Israel? Demotions can happen in council in Israel. Being brought to a lower state could happen when you have to get counsel for something like that. Instead of us being prideful and wanting to hate on somebody for something petty and not understanding what it is that they're going through and just assuming things about them, we would avoid all the drama that comes with it. If we decide to hold our tongues and know when to speak and know when to actually, prevent ourselves from moving forward with that hatred towards that person. Read on.
But whosoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire.
And that's an offensive statement to make, thou fool. What's a modern day version of that? What would be a modern day version of saying thou fool? You know what I mean? Go ahead.
Thou fool.
You dummy. You stupid, right? Like, how do we do with each other? When we argue with each other, we're going back to back. Come on now. We see this all the time in relationships.
Right.
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
So what are they calling him a fool about?
Whosoever shall say thou fool, it could be like, this is more of like a general statement, right? It could be anything in particular. Like if you're dealing with a certain situation where you're saying, okay, you're wrong and I'm right. You know what I mean? Everybody thinks they're right in an argument. But okay, go ahead. What were we going to say on that? Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say it's more like being patient with brothers, not losing your patience with brothers that don't know as much as you, because when people are coming into the truth, they don't know scriptures. Mm-hmm. They think they know scriptures, but they don't know scriptures. So it's about keeping your patience with the brothers. And I'd be like, man, you fool! How you not know that? But you got to remember, they're coming from the Christian church. They're coming from the streets. They're coming from Islam. So they don't know. They don't know these scriptures.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's like that. That's why you have to. That's why you have to dispel that Christianity out of them thinking that they know.
No, I get what you're saying, and that's why I was saying, because it could be a lot of different situations, right? It could be, and the truth, we of course we're more advanced when it comes to that sort of thing, because there's so much that you've already corrected. You almost kind of assume that everybody's corrected the same things as you, but everybody's at a different pace, when it comes to studying, when it comes to knowing certain breakdowns. If you're calling somebody a fool because they don't know a breakdown that you know, where was your brotherhood in showing them that? You know what I mean? Where was your brotherhood in sending them a link to the class where they were talking about that? Right. How many times has Commanding General Yohana had a heavy class that maybe you was watching the class when you know that your brother that was at his slavery didn't get a chance to see. And if it was something that you knew that they were going through, that was dealing with the situation that they were going through, where was the effort to actually present it to them? Because later on, it's almost like you getting after them for not have seen it. You know what I mean? What were you going to say? Go ahead.
Or somebody that's asking a question like in class.
Yeah.
And it's somebody else is laughing at them. you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's exactly the point. Yeah.
Because they know and the other brother doesn't know, so he's trying to get clarification and trying to doing the right thing by asking the question.
Read that last part again, because they're absolutely right about that right there. Go ahead. Read that last precept in that verse.
But whosoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire.
If we are to perfect ourselves, we need to correct before we act upon something like that, because the scripture says pride comes before destruction, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you do something like that, trying to call somebody a fool for not knowing what you know, you're showing pride right there. It says that you're in danger of hellfire right there. You're in danger. What it means by we're already in hell, what does that mean? That means you're in danger of not making it to the kingdom. You're in danger of being what the scripture says in that same precept, danger of the judgment. Danger of being, judgment can come in many forms. It could be something like a car accident. It could be something like losing a wife. It could be something like losing a limb, causing, pain in the side, a thorn in the side, a health issue. It could be anything that's going to prevent you from being able to do what you know you're supposed to do at the capacity that you're supposed to do and slow you down from getting it done. Something that's going to hold you back. You want to avoid that hellfire because we are already in hell. And the Most High can turn up that affliction and make it harder for you to do this. How much easier would it be if you just showed brotherhood to the next man?
That's right.
Not just the brothers in the truth, but even those in the world too. Because you could pick and choose who you want to show the truth to. But the more that you come into this and represent your culture, people are going to come to you. You're not going to even have to reach out to folks as much. People are going to be asking you questions because they see the zeal and that fire and spirit in you. And you can perfect yourself and avoid issues like that. Right. Next precept, we're going to go to John chapter, I believe it's chapter 13, verse 34. We got to continue to follow the orders that are given to us. There's no other thing to consider when it comes to that. Do you have that precept already?
What precept, sir?
Like it was John chapter 13, verse 34. Let me make sure that's the right one. Okay. Well, I flipped straight to the page, man. How many times does that happen? Go ahead.
This is the book of John, chapter 13, verse 34. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another.
That's right.
As I have loved you, that ye also love one another.
That's self-explanatory right there. It doesn't get much more clear than that. That's another commandment right there. That we love one another the way that Christ loved us. The way that John, the apostles, the disciples loved us. Being willing to sacrifice all the pleasures of this life to make sure that the next person has what they need spiritually. You know how much sacrifice it takes to do that? Those are the things that are going to build this kingdom up. But it means that you have to take that step into doing that. It says that that's a commandment that he gives to us, that we love one another as we've been loved. How much more does that get rid of the selfishness if we do that sort of thing? If we can maintain that level of authority over our own spirit and control the thought process that keeps us from being selfish and instead show love to that person. I'm trying to think of an example. What would be a good example of that? You know what I'm saying? Like a parent. So, ooh. Not too long ago, we went to Mexico. We went to Mexico because we had to do whatever it took to make sure that somebody out there that we didn't even know had something that they needed. We didn't know exactly what they needed, but we knew that I know I need food every day. I know I need something to eat every day, something to wear every day, a way to clean myself off, a way to stay healthy. You know what I'm saying? There's a really gross feeling with not even being able to brush your teeth. You ever gone a while without brushing your teeth? These are normal things that we think of every day, and we almost take it for granted. You know what I mean? But the ISUPK, we show so much brotherhood that we took the sacrifice in driving what seemed like 13, 14, 15 hours to drive all the way around to Mexico to give people that we don't even know, that we never met in our entire life, all the things that they needed. What an honor it was to be a part of something like that. What an honor it was. And even for those that weren't physically there, the people that actually put in their tithes to the school, that allowed Commanding General Johanna to provide the resources to get the job done. It wasn't just because of Most High in Christ, for all the men that went, I believe it was about 30 men from the school that went there, but wouldn't have been possible without everybody in the school. And that's an honor that I definitely want to remember. I will always be remembered. Go ahead.
Most importantly, instead of just the water that we gave them, and the food that we gave them, and the diapers and the clothing, most of all, we gave them the living water.
That's right.
We gave them the understanding of Christ. We gave them the understanding of brotherhood.
That's absolutely.
We gave them a safe haven to come to when they need it. That's what we gave them. We gave them a safe haven.
That's absolutely true. Because I saw it in their eyes when we were talking to them. We had a broadcast that was coming from New York, and we had a brother that was speaking in Creole. He was speaking the Haitian language to his people from halfway across the planet. You know what I mean? On the northern side of the United States, talking to them, giving them the comfort. The food and clothes was one thing, but these people were in order before they even had those things. And that right there showed unity and was a taste of what the kingdom would be like. That was just a small taste. If anything, the victory that we saw that day is that we had a taste of what the kingdom would be like. If we sacrifice our own lusts, if I could say, man, I got to bring this up. I got to give an account on something like that. Because I seen the fire in our camp leader, Officer Dawadam, the day before we went to accomplish the mission. When we went on a recon mission, they had done recon a couple days in a row. That was done on Sunday and Saturday, and was it Sunday also? Saturday night and on Monday. I was with them on Monday. Saturday night, he went with Officer Kabar, and who else was with y'all? The brothers went out there and was starting to put together the information that was needed to accomplish the mission. And when it comes to something like this is more than just giving people food and teaching them the scriptures. It is warfare, ultimately. It's a chess move that was made by the school. It's a chess move because here we are using that brotherhood and using that unity to get a job done. And I seen this zeal in our camp leader on the day that I went with him to do recon out there, almost like as if we were about to go on a vacation. He was so excited to get out there to help our people, to go to Mexico in one of the most dangerous places that you could ever touch with your feet. And he went out there. He was joyous to have before we even stepped foot in there, it was almost like he was planning a vacation. But we knew how grueling it was going to be to go out there. And even in my mind, I had to face the thoughts of the danger that it was going to be, of the time that it was going to take for my own personal life. And at the end of the day, I seen that zeal and it was affectionate to where I was like, you know what? I got to do this. There's no way that I'm not going to be a part of this. That brotherhood is affectionate. It enters everybody around you and it creates a strength that builds as our numbers build. And that right there is powerful. That is a weapon of spiritual warfare right there. Because what the end result was a victory that the entire world got to see. It was a victory that many brothers got to take part of. And it was a victory that we'll never forget.
That's right.
That's a beautiful thing because at the end of the day, it was our commandment to do so. It was our duty to do these things because thousands of years ago when this book was written, we were given orders to do this in 2021 and 2020. Every year before that, 1969, when this began. And it's continuing to build and build. And now we have a brotherhood that's so strong, we are invincible in that respect. We don't take any losses. We take ground. Like last weekend. In San Antonio, we took ground here in our city. We have brothers holding posts and teaching our people, and we're beginning to crack that evil spirit in our city, where this city is going to belong is going to belong to the ISUPK under Commanding General Yohana. It's going to belong to Yahweh Shai because we're continuing to move forward and building upon that righteousness that was started by those elders who started our school in the late 60s. Salak, if I could, Yahweh Shai, appreciate you tuning in, officer. That's another priest right there. Just want to say the water. Big ups to Colleen and all the brothers that are taking part in the Hebrew Academy. Go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and go to the next precept, Luke chapter 6. So
Keep going.
Go ahead and restart from the top on that precept. Salaki.
This is the book of John, chapter 13, verse 34.
Go ahead.
A new commandment
Mm-hmm.
I give unto you, that ye love one another, as I have loved you.
And that's what we do in the UPK. Go ahead.
That ye also love one another.
Next verse. Go ahead.
By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if ye have love one to another.
And that's the end of that chapter, right? that's what solidifies the commandment being taken. What is the result of you following that commandment? You actually being a real disciple. Go ahead.
And that also that's how you know that the ISUPK are the real disciples of Christ.
That's right.
That's how you know we're the real prophets of Yahweh Shai Mashiach.
That's right.
Because we're obviously out there showing the brotherhood and loving one another as we should. Everybody else don't do that. All these other fake Israelite groups don't do that. The Christian church don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Islam, they don't do that. They don't love one another as Christ loved them. Right? They don't love one another. But in the ISUPK, we love one another.
That's absolute right there. And you know another thing too about that, and it kind of goes back to us what we were talking about earlier. Our people, we like to be selfish. We like to think about what we got going on. And the ISUPK, we're willing to put ourselves in such uncomfortable situations that the end result is that we end up enjoying the result much more than we would have if we would have just stayed at home and done our own thing. You know what I mean? Going to reach out to a whole Native American tribe at a reservation. I see brothers in other states doing beautiful things like that. Go ahead, sir.
We're selfish with our love.
Selfish with our love.
We love Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans so much we can't love anybody else.
That kind of selfishness is okay. That kind of selfishness is lawful. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to us and being, with what we got going on, it's okay to just drop that. Focus on the next man. That's absolutely right. Most High in Christ. You want to read that verse 35 one more time, just so the people tuning in just now can hear the words of the Most High. Go ahead.
Sir, I'm gonna start at verse 34 because
come on, Kyle, read it off from the top. That's all good. We got time here.
This is the book of John, chapter 13, verse 34.
Go ahead.
A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another. As I have loved you, that ye also love one another.
Read on. Go ahead.
So Christ is a black man, right?
That's right.
And like any black man or black woman that says anything, that says anything twice, they mean it.
Yeah.
It's something serious. Like before you left the house, your dad used to tell you, y'all clean the house. And then before he left, he said, hey, make sure y'all get this house clean before I get back.
Right.
Because he meant it. You know
That's
what
right.
I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So when Christ says, love ye, that ye love one another, right? As I have loved you, that ye also love one another. He's telling you, like, I'm serious about loving one another.
Mm-hmm.
That's important. That's something that you should do is love one another. Christ is putting his foot down, basically. Yahweh Shai Mashiach is the king, is putting his foot down on that right there. Like, you better love one another.
That's right.
Right. And
another thing, too, is he's saying this is a new commandment. But for those in the Christian church, what you need to understand is that this right here is on top of everything that was told about in the Old Testament as well. We have to follow all the laws to find that perfection. Go ahead.
It's like the reason why he said it's a new commandment was because the Pharisees and Sadducees that was there, they wasn't loving their brothers like they loved themselves.
Go ahead.
They wasn't loving one another.
That's right.
So it was completely new to them who he was telling it to, because they weren't loving one another. So it was a new commandment to them because they didn't know. how to love each other.
Mm-hmm. It was almost like they were trying to separate love for the Most High and love for their people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But love for your people and love for the Most High is one and the same, because loving the Most High is keeping the commandments, and loving your people is making sure they keep the commandments also.
That's right.
It's one and the same.
That's right. Absolute.
Select.
No, you good on that. Did you verse 35 one more time? Go ahead.
And this is First John. I mean, this is the book of John, chapter 13, verse 35.
Go ahead.
By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if ye have love one to another.
Coming to the ISUPK under Commanding General Yohana, learn how to love your people. Become a disciple of Christ. Become perfect in the eyes of the Lord. You could do that here. You can't do that anywhere else. And I say that with confidence because I've seen it in the world. I've seen that the world only detracts you from this, and the world makes you selfish. But in here, you become selfish about wanting to just take care of your people. You become selfless because you're willing to give your last dollar to make sure that the next person stands up on their own 2 feet. And there's a glory in that. That's something that Christ is paying attention to. He's looking to see if you're doing that. Were you going to say something? All right, we can drop that. Let's go ahead and get Luke chapter 6, verse 31. Luke chapter 6 and verse 31. They always like to say, like, what's the golden rule? Treat others how you want to be treated. Where does that come from? That comes from scriptures. You know that? That's the goal. They say it's the golden rule. That's the golden rule. It's a valuable thing to remember, to keep in mind. Because at the end of the day, you don't know what somebody's going through. For you to actually go and just treat somebody like crap just because you're in a bad mood because you're going through something, remember, that could lead to your destruction. It could lead to judgment. It could lead to hellfire. And we want to avoid those things, especially hearing the truth. You start to get rid of those issues one by one to the point where you can stand on your own 2 feet in righteousness and say, you know what? I am living a righteous life. I am a good person. And even though everybody around you tries to say that you're that you're in a cult, that you're doing the wrong thing, that you're way off, and all of a sudden you're evil because you stopped smoking weed and stopped celebrating Christmas and all the things that their mind has been brainwashed to follow. You know what I'm saying? You could avoid all that nonsense. Go ahead, sir. Read what you got within Luke chapter 6, verse 31.
This is This is the book of Luke, chapter 6, verse 31. And as ye would that men should do to you, as ye also to them likewise.
That's right. Again, if you're actually treating yourself correctly and you're somebody that actually cares about yourself, you would expect other people to be the same way. You would expect that. But you know what I found to be terrible is that our people here in the kingdom, and you see it in their spirit, they almost don't want themselves to be healthy. They're over here smoking weed and harming themselves on purpose. And it's no surprise that they're treating the next man just the way that they're treating them themselves, destroying themselves. It's a sad thing to see because it's completely backwards from what the scripture is saying. Treat others the way you would want to be treated. But you're treating yourself like crap. So when you treat somebody else like crap, it kind of makes sense. That's just how you are. Turn that around and follow these laws that the Most High gave you. These laws of life that were given to you for a heritage. That this is something this is what's going to turn us around as a people and build our kingdom. In unity, there is strength. And we're going to find that strength here in the ISUPK. So if you're out there in the world and you're not in the school, you should be calling the camp. You should be calling the school that's in your city. There should be no hesitation. Because you know that deep down, that's what's good for you. And in order for you to get to the point where you can take care of somebody else, take those steps for yourself to work on your spirit, to follow these laws, statutes, and commandments, and get your discipline in order. Get your stuff together. It's the time for you to do so. It's time for you to wake up, Israel. Black man, Hispanic man, Native American man. I see you brothers in the reservations drinking that liquor. Drink it till you can't even think no more. No longer are you going to have to depend on that bottle to make it through the day, because you got a brother right next to you that's going to help you stand up on your own 2 feet. And he may not be from the same tribe as you, but he does have a spirit just like you. And he's going through the same thing that you're going through. And together, y'all are going to sharpen yourselves, and you're going to stand up and be righteous people.
That's right.
We good on that? Did you want to add anything to that? Anything you want to add on that? Go ahead.
Next 2 scriptures. Next 2 scriptures.
Let's go. Hey, man, listen. It's this one thing about the scriptures is that it explains itself as you continue to go along. If you could just piece these precepts, precept upon precept, in a way where it lines up and talks about the same topic, it's almost like as if I don't even have to say nothing. It's saying everything that you need to hear. It's answering your questions before you even asked your own question in your head. That's just how sharp these words are in this book. They're created for you, Israel. We're going to go to the next precept. We're going to go to St. John chapter 15.
Finish Luke 6:31.
We're still in Luke. Salagi, go ahead.
This is the book of Luke, chapter 6, verse 31.
Mm-hmm.
And as ye would that men should do to you, do ye also to them likewise. Verse 32. For if ye love them which love you, what thank have ye? For sinners also love those that love them. Verse 33. And if ye do good to them which do good to you, what thank have ye?
Man.
For sinners also do even the same.
And that's what separates people in the world from people in the truth. And you have to continue to fight that thought in your mind that makes you say, well, what do I get out of this situation? I treated this person good. How come they're not treating me good? Who are we to say that when Christ gave his life for us, when we did not deserve it? For people that didn't care about him, for people that didn't follow the orders that he was given, people that did not love Christ, and he willing to give his life for them. Well, guess what? Give your time, your resources, your love for somebody else, even if they have nothing to offer you. You know why? Because if you don't, you're no different than a Christian pastor. You're no different than a sinner. You're no different than a charlatan or a hypocrite. If you were the greater person, you'll continue to, yes, exactly. You'll be no different than the Pharisees or the Sadducees who claimed that they were righteous people, but were only doing that for their own gain. They weren't even doing that for anybody else's gain. You see that in these fake religions out here from Islam, Christianity, hood, Ebonics, you people out in the hood, they're always worried about what's good for them. What did they get out of the situation? What if we were the kind of people that just focused on what somebody else needed and not cared whether we got anything back for it? We would be in the kingdom already. Well, guess what? We're doing that right here in this school. We're building this kingdom because no longer do we care about our own wants and needs and necessities, what we want to do with our time. We're worried about the next man and what's going on with them. And that's what's going to build this kingdom. Was that the end of that verse, sir? All right, drop that. Let's get John chapter 15. John chapter 15. We got a couple verses on that one. John chapter 15, verse 12. We're going to start at verse 12. This whole book is heavy right here. You know what I mean? And the more that we read it, the more that we start to get that understanding. Read what you got. Go ahead.
The book of John, chapter 15, verse 12. This is my commandment that I leave. Salaki, I'm going to start over. This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you.
And this is it's almost like beating a dead horse at this point. We've seen this in precepts that we just read. This is the third time that we've read this. The exact same thing. That we should love one another as the way that Christ loved us. How much longer are we going to be selfish? Because I feel like I said, that's what's actually running rampant in our lives. I myself can admit to that. Every brother that I've ever met, I know that is fighting that just like how I'm fighting that. But if we actually cared about this truth and wanted to make sure that we reach this kingdom and build this kingdom on earth, we have to defeat those thoughts. Because every second that I spend trying to do what I want to do could be used in building something greater than what I got going on. You know what I'm saying? You're only withholding Christ coming back when we focus on our own wants and needs. We just have that zeal that these elders that put this school together, such as Commanding General Yohana, General Muhammad, people that give up all their time to the point where they probably don't even get no sleep. Maybe get a little bit of sleep. You know what I mean? At this point, we might not even know what sleep even is. You know, it's almost like the brotherhood is the only fuel we have left. You know what I'm saying? But you look in the scriptures and you seen the zeal that these men had 2,000 years ago. They were speaking as if Christ was about to come the very next day, as if he was about to return and that the kingdom of heaven was at hand 2,000 years ago. How much more zeal should we have now that we're closer to that time? Now that we're seeing the prophecies unfold, prophecies that brothers and all these classes have been showing you guys out here. We could be prepared for that. If we just keep in mind that the zeal that they had back then, we should be keeping that zeal alive today. Read that one more time.
That's right. This is the book of John. This is the book of John, chapter 15, verse 12.
Go ahead.
This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you.
That's right. Read on.
Verse 13. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends.
That's right. When we go to camp, what are we doing?
Lay down his life for his friends.
When we go to a whole nother country in a level 4 danger zone just to feed our people and teach them their truth of their culture and identity, what are we doing?
Lay down his life for his friends.
When we give up our jobs and our comfort, that $80,000 a year job, just to make sure that we have enough time to make it to camp, to make it to class, what are we doing?
Lay down his life for his friends.
Every single day that I have off of work, to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can to put towards the school, and maybe even just straight up leaving my job, leaving what I'm comfortable with, not caring about whatever woman I got ready to waiting for me on the bed just to have a little bit of fun with, or you know what I'm saying, to enjoy that flesh with. I could instead be doing what?
Lay down his life for his friends.
And that's what builds this kingdom. That's what we have to keep in our mind, because that comes first. That's more important than all the little minor ambitions that we have going on in our day-to-day. You know what I'm saying? The more that we keep that fervent spirit and stay zealots in this truth, the faster that this kingdom gets built. Not being selfish. Treating brothers the way we want to be treated. Showing love to people who don't show love back. Come on now. We grow up listening to some artists like Zero, who likes to be one deep, goes to point out that nobody cares about him, so he stays on his own. Instead, we should be making music about treating people good, whether they treat us bad or not. Being the bigger man, being the more spiritual man. You know what I'm saying? Being that good example that somebody could look at and say, you know what? This man's got something going on. I see something in this person, because they're willing to sacrifice everything that they got just for what? They don't understand that. They don't see that this kingdom's being built, but you do. when you come into this school and you follow these precepts for the real now, for the truth now, not just based off of what you learn in the Christian church, but what you know that what you're building here is much more important than what your ambitions are. Go ahead, sir.
I just have a precept.
You got a precept? Go ahead and bring that out. I know there's a lot. Hey, listen, you got full control. If you want to add a precept that goes with it, you're more than welcome to bring that out. If I could, before you brings that precept out, brotherhood is a weapon, and that is a weapon that Officer Kabar, he's not on camera right now, Officer Kabar is the perfection of that. He's so perfect as that his only complaint is that other brothers aren't as good at brotherhood as him. And I completely agree. I wish brothers, if brothers in the world, especially brothers, and you know what I'm saying, if everybody has brotherhood the way this man has brotherhood, Christ would be here right now, sitting right next to me. Christ would be right here. We would be having a drink. We would already be in the kingdom, and the white man would be under our foot. Our oppressor would be under our foot, building our streets of gold. You know what I'm saying? But right now, he's trying to make he tried to put Dogecoin on the moon. He's trying to get you to invest in Shiba. He's in the stock market right now, preventing you from being able to squeeze AMC. Because you know what it is? He's still in control. This is still his world. But it wouldn't be his world if you showed brotherhood. Go ahead. What you got right there?
This is the book of Ecclesiastes. The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 6, verse 15. Nothing doth countervail a faithful friend, and his excellency is invaluable. Verse 16. A faithful friend is the medicine of life.
Woo! Read that again.
A faithful friend is the medicine of life, and they that fear the Lord shall find him.
Damn. You want to expound on that?
I don't
Do you want me to do that? Like, the scripture, like, and I like to say, you know what I like to say? Let the Bible speak, because who am I to be speaking for it? You know what I mean? I'm glad they've been given the authority to say something after this, reading what these words are. What an honor it is to be given the authority to do so. So Tawada to all the brothers above me that gave me the chance to do so. Verse 16, Ecclesiastes was chapter 6. Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verse 16 says, a faithful friend is the medicine of life.
No, they said the weed is the medicine of life.
A faithful friend is the medicine of life.
No, they say that lean is the medicine of life.
A faithful friend is the medicine of life. I can vouch for that.
Right.
You know why? Because when I came into this truth, I had trouble making it an hour away from home without having my body lock up on me and my high blood pressure skyrocket and my heart beating so fast I damn near have a heart attack. I was given medication just to take care of that stuff. But you know what got me through it? It wasn't the medication. It was our brothers in this truth. It was Officer Kabar right here who extended brotherhood to me that allowed me to take the steps necessary to be where I'm at today. Wouldn't have been possible without that medicine of life that comes from a faithful friend. Somebody that has just as much faith as you do. You know what I'm saying? What a beautiful scripture to bring out for a class like this, where we know that we're looking at building the kingdom. And in order to build the kingdom, you need healthy people. In order to have healthy people, they need to have medicine. They need to be alive to do this. In order to get that medicine, you need faithful friends that are willing to show brotherhood and sisterhood for you. That's a good precept to bring out. We was in John chapter 15, verse 13. We're going to go back to that precept, and we're going to read that again with the authority and clarity. Go ahead whenever you get the chance. Again, it was John chapter 15, verse 13. Because being a friend is a sacrifice in itself. being a faithful friend is a sacrifice in itself, because every second that you spend being somebody's friend is a second taken away from you doing what you want to do, having your own me time, having your selfish time, right? we all have wants and needs for that. You know what I'm saying? But and to an extent, it makes sense. But at the same time, we have to minimize that stuff if we want to build this kingdom. Right. So we are in John chapter 15, verse 13. Go ahead.
Gone. This is the book of John, chapter 15, verse 13. Greater love have no man than this.
Go ahead.
That a man lay down his life for his friends.
That is the ultimate form of love. If you want to know what love is, for all you broads on Twitter and Instagram, always posting these inspirational quotes and squares, and it's not even your words, it's always someone else's words, and you repost it. And you always try to say something deep on there, trying to get likes. Like this, retweet this, share this. It says what? Go ahead, verse 13 again.
Greater love hath no man than this, that a man laid down his life for his friends.
That you will ride or die for your friends. That you're willing to give up whatever is going on with you for the next man. But you know what? A lot of times y'all post something that sounds deep because it goes with your horoscope or something weird stuff. It goes with your relationship status. Oh, well, the best thing's going to happen to you soon if you just stay the course. Or always some inspirational quote where it's like, focus on you, only focus on you. No. Focus on someone else. What's that? You said focus on what someone else is going on, because that right there is what love is. And what you're doing is being selfish, and that's not real love. Go ahead. Oh, Slucky. There is no greater love than when you sacrifice your wants and needs for somebody else. That's what the scripture says. Verse 14, go ahead.
Verse 14. Ye are my friends if ye do whatsoever I command you.
That's absolute right there. You want to be a friend, you want to be a disciple of Christ, do what he says. Show love to those who don't show love back, just to see if it throws them off. They may not be expecting that. They don't expect that because they're used to people in the world wanting something for taking something, wanting something in return for what they offer. You offer them something much more important than just physical things. You offer them that medicine of life when you offer your friendship to them. You offer them the ability and the chance to avoid judgment and avoid hellfire because you're offering your friendship to them, because you're offering something that they've never had in their life, and everybody's looking for that. That's a commodity that's priceless. You can't pay somebody to be your friend for real. But you could learn how to have that and learn how to become that in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. You Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we need to be friends. We need to actually find love for one another and lay down our lives for one another and become uncomfortable in our situations and not be selfish. Because that's right. When we do that, guess what? This kingdom gets built. Our world gets built. So stand up and do the right thing. It's time for you to awake out of sleep. It's time for you to read these books and hold on to the things that are inside this book. Now, I got a lot of scriptures in my head that I want to bring out, but I'm going to stay the course right here and move on to the next one. We're going to go to Matthew chapter 18, verse 22, verses 21 through 22. There's nothing more beautiful than being that example to somebody else and being that shining light in somebody's life. How many times have I been there for somebody who's in the course of whatever they're going through and have been a light in their life? It's such an honor to do that, because the report and the report that comes out about me for other people that know me is, man, this is a good person. This might be the best person that I know. This is somebody that is trying to make me a righteous person no matter what I am, no matter what I'm going through. This person right here has the zeal of the Most High in them, and there's something about them that I do not see in anybody else. Be that person. Show that level of compassion for somebody, regardless of what they offer you. And guess what? The Most High will reward you for that. I think we all need brotherhood in one way or another. I think that the people that show the most brotherhood are the people that need the most brotherhood. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans need compassion because we're so busy being stomped on and downtrodden over 400 years of destruction that it's a generational thing for us to pass down hatred for one another. Well, you could break that cycle if you just willing to offer somebody love and compassion that they won't even offer you. We're in Matthew chapter 18, verse 21. We're going to let the scriptures speak again to show you that brotherhood is something that builds this kingdom. It's something that builds your strength and builds your spirit. Go ahead, sir.
The book of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 21.
Mm-hmm.
Then came Peter to him and said, Lord, how oft shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him?
That's right. So again, what he's saying is he's asking him, he said, say somebody does something wrong to me. How many times do I have to let him get away with this before, you know what I'm saying? Before I actually go off on him. He's asking the question. Go ahead, read what he says right after that. He's following up on his question. He's actually asking, like, okay, is this a good amount of times? What does he say?
Till 7 times?
7 being the number of completion. He's asking, should I give him 7 chances? So, and let's give an example, just so we can make this more relatable. What's an example of something that that can offend us, right? Say you got a friend that needs to get somewhere to work, right? Say they don't have a ride to their job to help hold themselves down and all that kind of thing. And you giving them a ride and they say, you know what? Hey, look, listen, I appreciate you doing this for me. I'm going to make sure to get you gas money or do whatever I can. And then months later, you don't see them do that. You might see them spend that money on other things that are more petty, things that are for themselves. Maybe perhaps some that you would consider them being selfish for not focusing on their promise that they gave to you. It would be an offense to do so. Something like that. Something that happens, right? I'm giving examples. You know what I mean? Say, for instance, you're playing basketball and you go for a rebound and you land on somebody's foot and hurt your ankle. You would probably kind of have some animosity towards that person. Maybe they wouldn't even apologize for it. And you dealing with the ankle injury is going to ruin your ability. I'm actually speaking from experience. There's a mindset that I had to it because that's a real situation that's happened to me. Who am I to hold grudge against the person that affected me in a negative way? What he's asking right here is, how many times should I forgive that person? 7 times? What was the answer to that question? Read verse 22, sir.
Verse 22. Yahweh saith unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7.
That's a lot of times. It would behoove you not to keep track of the number of times, because that just shows that you're just being petty. What that really means, 70 times 7, that doesn't literally mean give them 77 chances, right? 70 times? That's a lot. Oh, it's a lot. That's like 490 times then, I guess. Or whatever that is. I don't know if the math's correct. We're talking about almost 500 offenses. Yeah. Like who would even keep track of that? Like, if you actually had a charge, like, okay, he's on 489. If he does it one more time, I'm gonna shoot him. You know what I mean? Like, don't do that, yo. What he's saying right here is a lot, okay? An infinite number of times. A number of times where it's not even gonna matter if you kept track, because you need to just forgive your brother. You know why? Because you show more forgiveness for those that have been oppressing you for 400 years than the man right next to you who's going through the same thing you're going through. You could actually instead show compassion and brotherhood to that person so that you can come out of y'all situation and y'all can stand together on 2 feet and move forward and then take the kingdom back. Basically, what we're trying to say here is that you just want to forgive your brother as many times as it takes, because Christ forgave us for the things that we've done wrong. If we're keeping a tally on them, guess what? The Most High is going to keep a tally on you. And you focus more on things that people are doing to you. Come. It's like, go ahead. Did you have anything you want to add to that?
Wow.
Already. So again, let's read from the top one more time. Verse 22. Start from the top on that.
Matthew chapter 18, verse 21.
Mm-hmm.
Then came Peter unto him and said, Lord, how oft shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him?
So if somebody hits you in the face, if somebody steals something from you, if somebody says something behind your back, if somebody says, you know what I'm saying, if somebody does anything to offend you, read on.
Till 7 times.
Go ahead.
Verse 22. Yahweh said unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7.
Forgive them every time. Because you're being forgiven for every time that you've trespassed against the Most High. So we need to keep that in mind at all times. We all know that there's a lot of that going on amongst our people. But guess what? The more that we continue to show that forgiveness, the more the Most High is going to forgive us for the things that we've done to trespass against him, and for the things that we've done to trespass against others within our nation. So with that, that's the end of that verse. That's the end of that scripture. Already, let's go ahead and drop that, and we're going to get the last precept. We're going to go to Mark chapter 12 and verse 31. Mark chapter 12 and verse 31.
It's one of my favorites.
Now, this precept right here is a heavy hitter. If you're not taking notes, you should be taking notes over every scripture that we go over right here. Write it down. Write down what that scripture is talking about. Write down the things that we mention here, because that's going to help build your repertoire of scriptures that are come to mind when somebody offends you. These are the things that are going to allow you to overcome your own thought process, to override it with righteousness, to where the Most High is working within you to make you fit for the kingdom of the Most High. Go ahead with the scripture that you're on. We in Mark.
You want to get 31?
Come on, sir.
Come on. Mark chapter 12, verse 31. And the second is like, namely this: thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is none other commandment greater than these. So we should start 29.
Go ahead and start 29. Slocky. Go ahead.
The book of Mark, chapter 12, verse 29. And Yahushua answered him, first of all, the commandment is, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord.
That's right. That's from the Old Testament. Brotherhood is rooted in the Old Testament. The truth The absolute truth of the Bible is rooted in the Old Testament. You are not to forget those records. We were given the entirety of the Bible so that we could follow the entirety of the Bible. For what was written aforetime was written for our learning, right? So we need to remember all the precepts. We need to recall. And you know what? And this is something that the Christian church really needs to remember and keep holding their mind. All the scriptures that were used during the time that the New Testament was written were the Old Testament scriptures, right?
That's right.
What was around when Christ walked the earth? He didn't have the New Testament to refer to. He had the Old Testament. So who are you at the Christian church to say, you know what, the Old Testament's done away with because we're just following the new? No. If you're following their example, you need to refer to the same precepts and records that they refer to. Go ahead.
And another thing, they say that the Old Testament's done away with,
Mhm.
but they're followers of Christ. Christ was following the Old Testament.
Exactly.
So you should follow the Old Testament.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he mastered the Old Testament and made it and was an example based off of what he learned from it, and showed brotherhood because of what he learned from it. And right here, it's pinpointing an exact part in the Old Testament that he learned that brotherhood from.
Damn right.
Go ahead. What was that again?
29.
Go ahead.
Mark chapter 12, verse 29. And Yahushua answered him, the first of all the commandments is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul,
And with all thy soul. Go ahead.
and with all thy mind,
And with all your mind.
and with all thy strength.
All of your strength. You know what that means? I don't care how tired you are, how grueling it was for you to work that overtime just to make enough for your rent. We are all going through that. But guess what? That little bit of energy that you had that was you were going to use to go and do your own thing, you could be using that to show some brotherhood. You know what I mean? That you could be using that to follow the Most High's laws, because like I said, we are in hell. But the thing is, if we continue to give effort towards the Most High instead of our own wants and needs, and put our whole heart and mind into this truth, then we are going to find ourselves in the kingdom. And you do not want to miss out on that. Read that again.
The book of Mark, chapter 12, verse 30. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart.
Right.
And with all thy soul.
Mm-hmm.
And with all thy mind.
That's right.
And with all thy strength.
Go ahead.
This is the first commandment.
That's exact. That's the first commandment. If you can't even get that right, how are you going to follow the other 600 commandments? You know what I'm saying? Brotherhood is a commandment.
That right there is the sum of the 600.
Mm-hmm.
That right there.
That right, exactly. That commandment right there sums up what all the commandments were. Mm-hmm. And that's what the brothers in the New Testament were talking about when they said, he was reminding them when he said, this new commandment I give unto you, because he was kind of like, hey, I think you need a refresher on this. I think you need a reminder on this, because overall, that was one of our first commandments. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and get first. Hold that scripture. Give me 1 John chapter 5 and verse 3.
Hold on.
Damn right. The scripture says that we are to hold these precepts one after another, putting these precepts together like a puzzle. And if we could fit these precepts together like a puzzle, we are letting the scriptures speak. We are letting the Lord speak and embed our minds with the truth. Mm-hmm. Our first commandment was loving the Lord with all of our heart and with all of our mind and with all of our soul. Read what you have that precept? Now, if you want to show true love to the Most High, this is how you do it. Go ahead.
This is the book of 1 John chapter 5, verse 3.
Read on.
For this is the love of God.
Go ahead.
That we keep his commandments.
That's right. Read on.
And his commandments are not grievous.
Read that again. That last part.
The book of 1 John, chapter 5, verse 3.
Mm-hmm.
For this is the love of God.
Go ahead.
That we keep his commandments. And his commandments are not grievous.
Brotherhood and love and fervency towards the Most High should not be something that you feel like is a chore. Should not feel like something that you're like, oh, I got to do this again. I got to forgive this man again. You should be happy that you get the chance to do that. Because right now, you could be dead. You could be in jail. You could be sick. You could be in a wheelchair. You could be without any availability to do any kind of function to the work of the Most High. But you're not. You're right here. You're still alive. You're still in the fight. And read that one more time. Go ahead. Read that one more time. I gotta hear that again. Because like I said, the scriptures are always cutting straight to the spirit. You know what I mean?
The book of 1 John, chapter 5, verse 3.
Go ahead.
For this is the love of God,
Mm-hmm.
that we keep his commandments. And his commandments are not grievous.
Not grievous. What does grievous mean? Look that up. Go ahead.
Not hard to do, like not problemsome.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a problem to keep it. It's nothing hard. It's nothing like grievous. Something that's hard to do. It's grievous.
Exactly. And that's where we get that mindset of it being something that is uncomfortable for us. When we're grievous about keeping these laws, we're grievous about loving one another, and grievous about forgiving each other. Go ahead.
Right, because the Christian church say, oh, can't nobody keep God's laws. You can't keep all the law. We all heard that. We all heard that.
Right.
But see, them telling you that you can't be perfect is not brotherhood. They should be telling you, oh, you keep all the laws? How do you do it? You know what I'm talking about? So I can learn, so I can do it too.
Mm-hmm.
But see, they don't want to keep God's laws. So they don't want to be a brother to you and tell you and tell you, oh, well, keep on doing that, brother. Keep on keeping God. You know what I mean?
Right. No, you're absolutely right about that. See, and the thing is too, people don't understand that perfection is something that is attainable.
Right.
And when you tell somebody that you're following God's laws and you're striving to perfection and that you are very close to it or dang near there, when your obedience is fulfilled, that you could actually be a good example for somebody else and then have the authority to correct somebody else. Christians in the world, people in the world, they don't understand that. They just assume that everybody's imperfect, that nobody's actually trying to follow all those laws. Go ahead.
That's because they think that perfect is living like the oppressor.
Damn.
That's what they want. That's their kind of perfect. They don't want to be perfect like Christ.
Expound on that.
They don't want to be perfect like Christ,
Mm-hmm.
right? They want to be to the oppressor standards of perfect. They don't want to be to the most high standards of perfect.
Damn.
You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you.
You dig what I'm saying? Because perfect, like being perfect like Christ, like Christ said, be ye perfect as my Father in heaven is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like being perfect like that is just keeping the law, statutes, and commandments.
That's right.
Which is not grievous.
Mm-hmm.
But that's grievous to them because they want to continue being whores, continue smoking weed,
Mm-hmm.
continue eating all the wrong foods, continue hating their brother.
Right.
That's grievous for them to love their brother.
And that's the first commandment.
That's the first commandment.
That's like level. Here you are on level. You just to kind of give you an idea. It don't matter what you like. A lot of people are into different things. It could be music, it could be video games, whatever it is. But you're on level 1, and your level 1 thing that you need to get right is how to forgive somebody. Right. How to show love to somebody in a way that's not grievous. Go ahead. I know you got more. Keep it going. Go ahead.
Because they're, you know who they forgive? They forgive the oppressors for slavery. They forgive the oppressors for shooting them in the back. They forgive their oppressors for all that. But you know who they don't forgive? They don't forgive Sister Johnson. Sister Johnson been talk about Sister Patty, and they don't forgive each other.
Right.
The two oldest ladies in the church talking about each other, and they got a grudge against each other.
On.
And they're not forgiving each other.
Hey.
Why? Because they have that slave mentality of wanting the acceptance from the so-called oppressor, right?
Mhm.
They want that acceptance, but they don't want to be accepted by their brother and by their sister. That's what they want. They don't like brotherhood. They like brotherhood with other nations.
And you know what a lot of it comes from? Because what you're saying is so on point. You see, especially when it comes to the females that have jobs.
Oh, Lord.
Oh my God. What they want to do is, and you got to hear about it all day. She come home from work, you got to hear about the crap that she dealt with because some sister said something about her, did something without her, you know what I mean, without to actually like doing anything to help her out. You're always hearing about the drama of what they got going on, but you're not hearing about the part where they forgave them. You're not hearing about the part where they actually like took low and said, you know what, I'm just gonna be the bigger person in this situation. I'm not gonna let that get to me, because if I did actually let them get away with that, they're just gonna keep doing it. So that in their respect, they just trying to make sure everything look like what they see on TV.
Right. Basketball wise.
Right. They looking at Housewives of Atlanta and say, oh man, them girls arguing with each other. That look fun. I want to make sure to argue with everybody at my job. And then I gotta hear about it when you get home from work.
Right. Then you want to start arguing.
Go ahead.
Then she want to start an argument with you because you ain't listening.
I know. And I gotta hear every single detail, and I gotta remember everything that you said.
I'm trying to watch class.
Like, this is gospel that I need to hear. Like, this is something that's super important. I gotta hear every detail, and I can't be distracted with what I'm already focused on that's more important, because I gotta hear about what Sally said at work behind your back, and the fact that you cleaned all the dishes and she was out smoking a cigarette in the back. You know what I'm saying? Because you was doing all the work and she wasn't. And y'all just trying to get out. You're just trying to clock out and go home. But you're focused on the wrong thing, sis. You're focused on the wrong thing, brother. If all you're focused on with other people doing wrong to you, you know what I mean? That ain't building this kingdom. That's just a distraction. You understand that, right? That's building a huge distraction. Go ahead.
That's also like in relationships, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's like in relationships, because when they get into a relationship, right, and they're not looking at what I can do for my husband or what I can do for my wife, it's what my wife can do for me and what my husband can do for me.
That's right.
That's what it's talking about. They're not talking. They're not thinking about what can I do for my wife or for my husband that can make it easier to get the job done. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But they looking like, you ain't did nothing for me lately. You ain't did nothing for me lately. You ain't did this. You ain't did that. So eventually they want to leave each other, right? Instead of trying to do what it takes to hold the family together.
And that's what we gotta be careful for, because a lot of times, and this is easy for the women of Israel to fall prey to, because they see social media, TV. They see everybody having a good time, doing all this stuff like as if they're in heaven, and she's dealing with all this frustration from having the grind of life. Hold your point. I was trying to say, because they see all that happening, and then they see that they got to deal with the poverty. They got to deal with the struggle, to the point where the outburst comes from because she's not comfortable like she wants to be. Women just want to be comfortable. Some women are just content with just having a place to stay and having a place to just relax. And then when you disrupt that, she gives you all kinds of hell for that. But I think that really what we need to really zero in on when it comes to that sort of thing is that this is not our place of comfort. This is not our place to be restful. The scripture says what? When we were just reading that precept, read that one more time. Salaki, go ahead.
Which one? 1 John chapter 5?
Yeah. Oh, we was in Mark, I believe, right?
Yeah, but we never went back. 12 and 30 or 31?
Verse 12, Salaki, chapter 12, verse 31.
The book of Mark, chapter 12, verse 31.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is like, namely this: thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is none other commandment greater than these.
That's the most important thing to remember, because that goes all the way back to the beginning. If we're able to, and then of course, when it's talking about neighbor, it's talking about who? It's talking about your people. You know what I'm saying? If we focus in on that, then we can build this kingdom. Until you do that, everything that you're worried about is actually just distracting you from building what we need to build and just continuing to you're just complaining about being in hell, which we all kind of are dealing with that too. But it doesn't progress this movement. It doesn't progress this school. It doesn't progress our nation when you're focused on the wrong thing. So you should actually go ahead and drop all that and forgive that person and stay humble, because you got to understand that we are not ones that deserve these. We don't deserve nothing. But because Christ had so much brotherhood for us, now we have the chance to earn something. So extend that brotherhood to the next person before you hurt yourself or hurt that person or bring harm to them or say something that you might regret later on. You understand?
Yeah, I'm right.
And then you want to add on that, sir? That's the end of that. So with that, well, I guess you want me to do the close now and everything too? Come on. Let me go ahead and get that ready.
No, I got that. You did the closing out with Isupk.
Okay. And with that, I'm going to pass the class over to Precinct Officer Kabar.
We're at the Isupk. Mm-hmm. Start out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Finish it.
All right. With that, we are the Isupk. Started out at 1 West Harlem, Salakia, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana. In 1969, we are teaching the Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans their true culture and identity according to the scriptures. So with that, I'm going to pass the class over to Precinct Officer Kabar for the Isu Pk Security Announcements.
These are the Isupk Security Announcements. We are the Isupk. Start out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, a brother or sister will get the permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find, which is a commandment. Numbers 18 and 21, and Malachi 3rd chapter verses 8 through 10. Ma'ashara means 10th in the Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the Treasury Department or teacher. Priest fund, a free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations.
Dedication?
I'm looking for it. Oh, the Feast of Dedications. Hanukkah. 25th day of the 9th month by the space of 8 days. It starts on Sunday, the 28th of November, 2021 for 8 days. You can find this in 1 Maccabees, the chapter 4, verse 52 through 61. If anyone wants to become a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black boots, shirt, pants, headband, scarf. And that concludes the security announcements.
All right, we're gonna do the prayers. What prayers we're gonna do today? we're gonna conclude with the Lord's Prayer, starting in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, and then we're gonna translate it into English for those that need to understand what the English translation is. This is the Lord's Prayer, found in the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verses 8 through 13. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shemka, Yahweh, Malakutka, Taba'ah, Ratazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Hayah, Bashemayim, Nathalanawa, Lacham, Kal, Yawam, Wasalaklanau, Kabawathnow, Kasalaknow, Kabawathyanau, Wala'ah, Tabi'ai now, Banasayawan, Abal, Aushai Shainao,
Ayashayana,
Mayan,
Mayan,
Rai,
Rai,
Kaya, Ka,
Ka,
Hamalakwa,
Amalakwa,
Waha'ala,
Wala Allah,
Watha Pa'ara,
Wa'atha Pa'arath,
La'aiwalamyam,
Wa'ayalumyum,
Aman.
Aman.
What we said was, did you want to read that?
You know, man, good.
All right, what we said was, in English, Our Father,
Our Father,
which art in heaven,
which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
thy kingdom come,
thy kingdom come,
thy will be done
thy will be done
in earth
in earth
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day
Give us this day
our daily bread,
our daily bread,
and forgive us our
and
debts
forgive us our debts
as we forgive our debtors,
as we forgive our debtors,
and lead us not
not
into temptation,
into temptation,
but deliver us
but deliver us
from evil.
from evil.
For thine is the
For
kingdom,
thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever.
forever.
So be it.
So be it.
All right, Sar, we're going to turn to face the brothers for a courtesy salute. Men of Israel, Amajah Shabbat, Amajah, Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Brakatham, Yahweh Matah. We're going to turn Sar to face the sisters for a courtesy salute. Men of Israel, Amajah Shabbat, Amajah, Barak, Yahweh Shemar Al-Than Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Matah. Class dismissed. Yeah, go ahead and throw one on real quick.
Rolling hard, wherever I be rolling, rolling hard. Trials and tribulations in my life got me rolling hard. Woke up, Lord bless me with another day. Eat shit, shower, and be on my way. Jumped in the two-door, Monte Carlo, solo, with a fofo on my way to get the dough, yo. If you don't work, then you don't eat. Don't be scared to walk through life when you got feet. You gotta run a race, it's the track meet. Can't trust nobody on the street, so you pack heat. Just got a phone call, my homie I grew up with dead. And last night my other partner had his toe kicked in by Fed. Crooked cops go to your hood and hunt your steps, searching till they find your stash box where the gun is kept. I ain't never slept, some dream a fairy tale crime. The judge ain't giving no breaks, he giving jail time. I'ma put my trust and faith in the Lord. Never scarred on the boulevard, always rolling hard. I'm rolling hard, rolling hard. Rolling hard. Wherever I be rolling hard. Trials and tribulations in my life got me rolling hard, got me rolling hard, rolling hard. I believe in this truth, I'll never stop. Gun to my head, knife to my throat, I'll never stop. Ain't eat or drink nothing, I'll never drop. Rapping words over beats like this, I'll never flop. Pick up your cross, follow your house shot. Living righteous now, that old wicked man had to die. I testify the white man, the devil, he a lie. He the judge, sitting in court to make your mama cry. Christianity had me traumatized. I'll never water down the truth, I can't compromise. I love the Most High more than my own children. My sons and daughters, they hate me, just imagine the feeling. Pain hurts so deep, cut like a machete. Prepare your soul for temptation, you better get ready. I'ma put my trust and faith in the Lord. Never scored on the boulevard, always rolling hard. I'm rolling hard, rolling hard. Whatever I be rolling hard. Trials and tribulations in my life got me rolling hard, got me rolling hard, rolling hard. If it ain't one thing, it's 5 or 6. That president gon' cause a race war through politics. The way they treat my Mexican brothers on the border. Isaiah 14 and 21 prepare slaughter. Babylon falling, everything gon' flip. Every day of my life I pray for rulership. I'ma put my trust and faith in the Lord. Never scored on the boulevard, always rolling hard. I'm rolling hard, rolling hard. Whatever I be rolling hard. Trials and tribulations in my my life. Got me rolling hard, got me rolling hard, rolling hard, got me rolling hard, got me rolling hard.